Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So your questions, unmute yourself, type in, go ahead and anything goes, fire away.
And go ahead, Linda, then Deborah.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, hi there. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody again. So Greg, I have an interesting situation, and I've been working with the Sandalphon and the Auric Waves techniques in an effort to resolve it, and along with some other things. And I'm having some challenges, and I have a question around how to use the techniques in a situation like this when I don't really understand what's happening. Okay.
Right.
So what's happening is 3 weeks ago, I started getting this incredibly irritating, awful itchiness around my ears, especially on the outer edges of them, and then the ears themselves, the lobes, the jaws, the face, down the neck, behind the ears, and up through the forehead.
Okay.
I've been to my dentist because we thought maybe it was allergic reaction to something, and he did something and it helped a little. Been to my neurologist. He gave me a natural supplement for like a histamine reaction and also did adjustments for me on my jaw and stuff. That helped some. I started working with the Sandalphon techniques using particularly the chakral root cleanse and the master blend and the aura cleanse seem to be helpful. Today it's very tolerable, but I don't know what's going on. And then when I go to look like at the booklet, I'm trying to figure out, how do I know where to go if I don't know what's going on?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So let me ask some questions.
Yeah.
So you're itchy. Are you having any sort of redness or like little lesion or breakout or
No,
sore?
absolutely no redness, no irritation on the skin, no breakouts, no pain, just itchy, itchy, itchy.
It's odd because it's like variations that
Yeah.
we're seeing, like not just in our circle but outside our circle, where there's this weird weird thing going on with the skin, and some people are having eruptions, some people aren't, but a lot of itchiness. um like allergies are usually the first thing that you look at with something like that. And then it could be some form, like sometimes like the byproduct of being anxious, like anxiety can cause it, but it's usually still that kind of anxiety is like a disruption in the immune system more than it is like something psychological. Like something's off in the immune system and it's making the person feel agitated, but it's not emotional and mental agitation causing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
do, and I'm not feeling agitation,
yeah,
interestingly enough.
because you're not really feeling agitated, are you? Cat wasn't feeling agitated. Hmm. So this is what I would say about this. And there are times where um there are times that like weird things start popping up amongst the population. And like when I see something like this, if it was just an individual thing, like here you're going like, I don't know what's going on with me, this is going on, da 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 da, and you have your symptoms. But when you start to see it like where there's no pattern, it's not like they're in the same group, they're not interacting with people, they're with the same people, I should say, and you start to see like there's just this weird thing that kind of pops up. It makes it it makes it seem like it's something else.
Mhm.
And you know, variations of the symptoms you're describing, I'd say in the last 2 weeks, I've probably heard it like 7 or 8 times, where in the last 5 years, I've probably heard it 3 times.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That, like, it's not like a common thing. And so I think that there's probably something viral going around that doesn't manifest as like a cold or a flu, but sometimes they'll cause like these weird sensations, especially when it impacts like nerves. And so like even itchiness, um, so you can look at it from a couple different ways. Itchiness could be skin congestion, could be lymphatic congestion. Um, it could be agitation in the nervous system. And if you take a step back and look, like a virus could be causing a lot of those, some, you know, be it that it's lymphatic congestion, be it that it's an agitation in the nervous system. You know, like shingles is a good example of a virus that will directly impact like nerves. I'm not saying this is shingles. I'm just saying,
No, I thought that for a moment when it
yeah,
first
it's like
started.
it's
I
a,
was like,
a
and I started
cousin.
treating it thinking
And it's
maybe it's
actually,
shingles,
that's what people are thinking too, is like
but
people are
it's not.
thinking, is
It's
this
not.
shingles? But it turns out not to be. And so I would treat the skin, but I would treat it from a viral perspective, like using antivirals.
Okay.
And so again, going through the list, um, bay laurel,
Yeah.
eucalyptus radiata, ravensara, neoli, Melissa and Monarda are always on the mix, but also lemongrass could be thrown in there.
Mhm.
I kind of like the idea of lemongrass for this, just for a lot of reasons. Okay, so for one, it's going to put the body into a little bit more rest and repair mode. It's going to calm down the sympathetic nervous system, and it will help stimulate lymphatic movement. But also one of the things is, if there is some sort of virus or something like that, lemongrass could be something that you would use for that. And so, you know, I have this discussion sometimes with some of my, you know, geeky medical aromatherapy. You know, we all think we're cool, but we all geek out and just sit around and talk about, like, you know, viruses. Like, you know, we just talk about the weirdest things. And this is like an ongoing topic, is how much viral activity, you know, because we think of viruses straightforward as like, hey, I got the cold and flu, or I got chickenpox, or I got shingles, or I got, you know, whatever. But, you know, I personally have seen like pain syndromes with people having a problem with like a nerve coming out of the spine and going down the arm or something, where it was responding to nothing, but when we treated it with antivirals, it went away. And so, you know, could be other factors. You know, it's not like we're doing a medical test and we can go, oh, it's this particular virus. But like whenever you see something and it's like it's duplicating, like spreading or duplicating, and it's not being stimulated by something. Like if you're out in the heat and you're in the heat for long periods of time and you're in direct sunlight and everything, you're like, well, it's probably something heat related. Or, you know, you're hiking through and you're going through a bunch of brush. It's like, you know, maybe you got some sort of rash, like a nettle rash or something, and you have something like that. But when it's just makes no rhyme or reason for why it's happening, I mean, it could always be something's off, but like I always go to like viruses. You know, it doesn't mean that's what it is, but it's a thing that I started looking at, like, you know, something antiviral. And so the other thing that I would say is, you know, we look at the 6 different aspects of the aura, but then kind of like the next phase, which I kind of briefly have talked about, and it's been worked in through different classes, but you look at things like homeostasis versus also allostasis. You look at, we talk about vagal tone all the time. Uh, Vagal tone, homeostasis, allostasis. Oh, homeostatic emotion, and then like behavior, which is instinctive responses. This I would put in with potentially with, so homeostasis is your body's ability to balance out itself and stabilize itself. When your body is going through change, you go into a phase of allostasis, and then you slip back into homeostasis, right? So like if you're healing the liver, for example, and you're starting to change the physiology or even the structure a little bit, your body will slip into allostasis for a little bit and then come back to homeostasis and balance it out, right? So basically it's change. It's like the body's ability to adjust and adapt. But the problem is that sometimes that switch gets flipped and there wasn't really a change that was happening. And so another way of saying that, like even to say like growing, is like the body gets a little chaotic. And in the aspect of growth, it's chaotic because it's new. Something new is and different is happening. So it's chaotic, but then it establishes an order really quickly. But what happens sometimes is, you might get exposed to a virus and then the body fights it off. But then there's this chain reaction. So it might not even be that the virus is still there, but the virus then throws certain things into chaos, because one of the things that viruses do is they go into the body and they start flipping switches to establish the environment for their growth, for their development. And so a lot of what we call symptoms is the virus trying to make, like, the virus is nesting, basically, so to speak. Like it's trying to make a nice home for itself, and in doing so it makes us sick. And so here, like, I think there's probably been some sort of exposure to something, didn't end up as a cold or flu, but you're still having a reaction in the body. And so I would use things that in medical aromatherapy, we would call them like restoratives. And you have a handful, you could play with some. But even like here, like itchiness, one of the things you would use for itchiness would be like lavender, or like German chamomile, or Roman chamomile, or Cape chamomile. And as far as restoratives go, lavender and Cape chamomile are considered very good restoratives. So I would say, other things could be cypress, sweet basil, rosemary verbena. Rosemary verbena is actually a very good restorative as well. Coriander actually would be somewhat of a restorative. Let's see, sweet basil. Juniper could be a restorative. But bottom line is I would use probably like some lavender or chamomile, preferably like either German or Cape chamomile. And I would put it in a little bit of aloe vera, or a little bit of lotion, or a little bit of alcohol, or just even straight, and then just rub it on the area. I kind of like the idea of putting it in a little bit of aloe vera, just because the aloe vera will be a little bit soothing to the skin as well. But even a good salt bath, so go back to just the good old fashioned lavender, and not just regular basil, but sweet basil. And so regular basil will kind of do it, holy basil will kind of do it, but sweet basil is a much better restorative than just normal basil. And so, but lavender's a good choice, cypress is a good choice. You know, there's lots of good choices in there. And like very common things. Another restorative is marjoram.
Yeah.
So marjoram, but because it's skin, you know, even if you do marjoram, you could just inhale the marjoram, but on the areas, I would do lavender or lavender and chamomile. As far as working like those auric wave, you know, the auric waves and the sandalphon thing, um, for something like that, I think I would probably go to just right to the auric programs, and I would work either for the immune system or I would work for just diminishing negative programs, which is aloes, right? You would use some form of aloes to go through and work that. But you know, immune support would work really well for working the quadrants. And
Okay.
so, you know, I would start with that. But how long has this been going on? Like 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks now, and I've used
Yeah.
lavender on my ears and my face, and with put it in
And
little.
nothing's helping.
It helped a little. Everything's kind of helped a little. I've tried marjoram. Some of it is my jaw was so tight and it was out of alignment from the dentist appointment. So my
Mhm.
neurologist helped with that. Um, I was
Let's
taking, I was early on, I was taking bay laurel internally because I was
uh-huh.
thinking maybe it is an infection of some sort, you know.
Right, right.
Um, and I recently, actually, in the last few days, started taking Melissa internally. Um,
And is
because
anything helping, like where you go, oh, that was some relief?
Um, yes, over the last couple of days, and I have to attribute that to the Melissa probably, and then
Yeah.
like the aura cleanse, the chakra cleanse, that those, from the Sandalphon technique seemed to help a lot. What was interesting was on Sunday, I had done that stuff, and Saturday night, Sunday, I was feeling really good and like, oh, okay, we've made a turn here. And then I led the full moon meditation on Twin Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And and when I do the meditation, I say the meditation, right? I lead the meditation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as I was going through it, suddenly it was like the downpour of energy. My entire thing got lit up like a light. Everything was tingling and prickly and itchy. And it was like set me back, right back to full irritation.
You know, it's interesting. Have you ever like had you know, like maybe from doing healing or something, where you've just gotten really contaminated?
Early on, I would get it and it would like my shoulders would
Does
lock
it
up.
feel like that at all?
Was it like this?
Yeah.
No, I've
Yeah.
never had anything like this before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's throw a curveball. Let's have you do some work with helichrysum.
Okay.
And or would you? Okay. So Samantha was actually having a similar version of this, and it started while we were traveling. And you know, we were like, did you get bites or did like, you know, what's going on? And helichrysum seemed to be the thing. You know, we tried several different things and nothing was working. It was really odd. It's really weird.
I
And
mean, literally the same things that
yeah,
Linda was
same
doing.
areas, same. I mean, Samantha's got it also like all those same areas, but like also down on her legs, like her
Okay,
little.
and I get it once in a while on my wrist and the top by my thumb and my forefinger.
Yeah,
Sometimes I just find myself scratching there and I thought, oh, don't scratch,
yeah. It
but
makes me
it's like
wonder
that.
if it's a virus. Like it. So let's start you with helichrysum.
Okay.
Um, Let me just look at things here for a second. And do you have any form of sage?
I have Sage Supreme.
Yeah, perfect. let's maybe even have you like use the helichrysum topically, and then maybe do like a salt bath or something with the sage, and
Okay.
do like 15-20 drops, and like be sure to get it on your head and everything. And then when you get out, put the helichrysum on, see what that does. Because again, I mean, it could be like, if we look at it mechanically, if say, even if it's an exposure to something, be it allergies, be it a virus, whatever it might be, part of that response is going to be that the lymphatic system is going to kick into overdrive to handle these situations. And if the lymphatic system is sluggish or gets stagnant or lymph nodes get blocked, what's going to happen is the sensory nerves are going to start firing at a crazy rate, like much faster than normal. And so that could also be a little bit of the itching, or, it's basically like a hyper reactive group of nerves. And so the sage, for one, is a cure-all. Sage also is one of the ones that's a restorative.
Mm.
And then it will calm down the sensory nerves. And so we want to kind of push the vagal tone a little bit, and we want to calm down the sensory nerves. So I'd say, use sage, still use the helichrysum, and maybe even inhale the sage a little bit. Vetiver could be worked in there as an inhalation too, if you wanted.
Mhm.
But I like the sage a little bit better for topical. And then let's have you do that for 24 hours, maybe 24 to 36 hours, and then let me know, good or bad, like how it's doing. Let's like get a handle on that quick. But we bounced around a bunch of things with a few people, but including Samantha, and it's calming down, but it didn't calm down as fast as I would have liked it. Like, when we were treating it, I mean, it's been going on what, over a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I, also just been like trying to do like, oh, what are the allergy support like for aura
Right.
things?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and I
was too.
don't know, the
That
allergies
it
are,
didn't cut it. Like
yeah,
it didn't
allergy
make
stuff, like, usually we go, okay, let's try all the herbal things, and then it's like, okay, we've done the herbal things, let's just throw a Benadryl down the throat and see what that does.
Yeah.
And usually that would knock it out, and didn't touch it. Like,
Right. Same
didn't
thing
touch
here.
it.
Yeah. Same
And
thing.
so, I mean, we were even going, should we go to the doctor and have them see, maybe there's some weird thing going around, and we haven't gotten that far yet, but it's getting better.
Yeah, it is getting better, but I haven't tried the immune support
Right.
part of the RX program
Yeah.
yet, so I might try that today.
Try that too.
Yeah, so I mean, you could do the immune component, and you could also do the one for the nervous system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I would say those would be the two.
Okay.
Yeah. But and then keep me posted and let me know like how that's going.
Okay. Yeah, you bet. I'll shoot you an email
Yeah.
in 24, 36 hours and let you know how it's doing.
Yeah. How's
Okay.
everything else going in your guys' world?
Well, actually, the one other piece I just wanted to mention to you is Bob Julian has been in the hospital for like 10 days now.
Yeah.
And today, this afternoon, Judy's there doing, they're looking at palliative care at this point. So things
I'm
are
sorry to hear that.
definitely could use some extra support there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could just all
And
hold it.
and please let her know anything we can do for her or anything. And we'll put him on the prayer petition list as well.
Thank you.
So
That would be wonderful. Thank you very much. But yeah, everything else is good. We're looking forward to October. It's coming up pretty
very good.
fast.
Yeah, it's coming up fast. Yeah.
So yeah, everything else is pretty good. Thank you.
Yes. So.
And then go ahead, Deborah, then Robert.
Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
I had two questions.
Mhm.
One is because I'll be flying. You've mentioned the scenario where you were traveling and somebody was sick that sat next to you, and you guys then did a lot of oils and things. I was wondering what you did. So if that situation comes up
Sure.
for me,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like a lot of times I use immune support. Or I use Monarda, especially the Monarda and Melissa, I used quite a bit, like when the pandemic was like kind of full blown. And the reason being those two are pretty potent antivirals. And so but Baylora would also work, Eucalyptus radiata would also work, Ravensara, uh, Naoli. All of those are very good antivirals. And like in a pinch, also things like lemongrass and cinnamon are things that you take as and so the thing that I liked about the immune support is, just kind of rolling it on or putting a little dab up high like this is like kind of enough. You don't even really have to do some protocol or something. You just kind of get it on your chest or your chest and neck a little bit. So like sometimes I would use a spray and sometimes I'd use a roller ball. That would work. Even camphor would work. I would use other things before camphor, but we have that one. What's that other one that it starts with a P?
Wolpadelldoc.
No,
No.
the other immune.
Is it a single oil?
No, it's a blend. It's not one that I made too much of back when Heather was here. Remember, like
Not Panacea, isn't it?
Panacea. So Panacea would be another one that you could use, like for prevention like that. The other thing that I always try to do is anything that supports rest and repair. Like when I travel, you're traveling, and so it's really easy to get thrown out of your normal rhythms. And so when you're in more fight flight mode, or it's not even really fight flight, you're just not in rest and repair. Like when you travel, I mean, you're sitting there. It's not like you're freaked out or running or scared or anxious, but your body's just in this like kind of agitated state. You have a greater potential for getting sick. And so anything that supports vagal tone or rest and repair. So again, tarragon, marjoram, hyssop, sage. um there's fancy things, but those are the bread and butter oils that you can use for something like that. Lemongrass.
So if I was going to choose one or two to immediately take, would be like I have Melissa. I could take Melissa with me and
Just take it every day. Yeah.
like 2 or 3 drops
2 or 3
internally.
drops every day. And if you're sitting there and somebody looks like they are sick and they sit down next to you, like I'd take an extra couple drops that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also know Melissa will have other good things for while
Yeah.
I'm traveling.
It'll help you have a chill, travel part,
Yeah.
like, taking Melissa like on the plane, you just sit there and you're just kind of chill. And even if people are freaking out around you, and it's not as bad as it was during the pandemic. Like during the pandemic with all the masks, people were having meltdowns on the plane. I can't tell you how many times police met somebody getting off the plane when we were flying during that 3 or 4 years or whatever it was. Yeah. Now everybody's kind of chilled out a bit, and it's back to kind of normal. So,
Yeah.
but the planes are usually packed now. Like where before it was like, yeah, maybe it is, maybe it's not. They've changed the way they schedule and things, and the planes are always packed.
So I've been traveling some. I was just, traveling back in January by plane. So I'm getting back the rhythm of what's going on, although
Mhm.
with the shutdown, the technology shutdown, I know that people are really stressed about flights being still disorganized, but I'm okay with that
Yeah.
part. So the
That's
other
life
part,
these days, flying. Like
yeah,
it's always a
exactly.
little. wonky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with the
Just give
flow.
yourself a little extra time. It takes
Yeah.
all the stress out of it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I arrive a day early. I
Yeah,
have that.
exactly.
So the other big question I had that came up at the end of the Sunday's healing sessions, where you were talking about crystals and consecrating them. What is your method for consecrating the crystals?
What was I talking about? Like on Sunday, I was talking about that. Yeah. Samantha's laughing. She's going, yeah. So you clean them up. You know, chant Om over them, or rub them with salt a whole bunch, or sometimes you can even pour like alcohol on them and then do a lot of friction on them. Just kind of keep rubbing it, and because the alcohol is cleansing as well. You could smudge it as well, and then I usually do some form of invocation. Um, I'm pausing because there's like levels to consecrating a crystal, you could say. And you know how we're talking about like how sometimes you're flying and you might get a little agitated, or you get a virus, like how we were talking about with Linda, and the body gets a little agitated. Crystals can get agitated too. Like stones can get very agitated, based on where they were forming or things going on, or even possibly how they got extracted. And the level of agitation in a crystal, because you bless you, you're still dealing with divas, you're still dealing with little energy beings, and so with the crystal, and so the more that they are not agitated, the more energy that will flow through that crystal. And so after you clean it, one of the things that I do is you can chant Om Mani Padme Hum, like really soft, like to the crystal or to the divas of the crystal. You chant it really soft. There's more involved ways of doing this, but like this is like the easy way to do it. And when you chant the Om Mani Padme Hum, it's like you're trying to get a baby to go to sleep, like really soft, like Om Mani Padme, like really soft. And do that for a couple of minutes, and then, do an invocation and ask for the crystal to be blessed with divine love, divine mercy, divine light, and be filled with divine healing energy, divine healing power.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember in chronic healing, they talked about being able to actually give it a job.
Yeah, you could. Like, what are you going to be using them for?
So I just bought. So I have a strong connection to crystals, particularly amethyst.
Mhm.
I have a geode that called me back in their 80s, before I knew what crystals were all about or any of this energy stuff. And I've never consecrated it, but I've always kept it clean. And now I just felt like I needed something smaller that I could travel with and even hold while I meditate. So I found this really beautiful.
What kind of meditation are you going to do it with?
Just my daily meditation, whereas I sit and sort of.
But are you talking about more like contemplation, or are you talking about doing a
Yes.
formal practice?
Yeah, it's a contemplation. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not like a guided meditation.
Yeah, like contemplation would be good, but if you're really stimulating the chakras, don't hold the stone.
Yeah.
But contemplation is fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is a new thing. I usually
Yeah.
don't hold stones, but somebody suggested it, so I was trying it.
Right.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful part of a geode that's small, like it'll fit in the palm of my hand.
Mhm.
and I bathed it in the moonlight on Sunday, that was a full moon at 6 something here,
Mhm.
and it had been out there. And then, so it feels really good to me.
Mhm.
But when you talked on Sunday, I was not familiar with that. If you don't consecrate it,
Yeah, yeah.
that you're actually not invoking the stone, is the kind of the
Well, it's the stone will stimulate the lower centers, not necessarily the higher centers. And even though
okay,
like amethyst, like here is a good example, even though it's amethyst, it still would impact more the lower centers than the upper centers until it's been consecrated.
okay,
And then once it's consecrated, it hits all the big centers big time. But it still is activating to the lower centers.
okay,
And so, but it's just like after the consecration, it's also activating to the upper centers. And so yeah, so you want to yeah, just do the invocation. Don't mention any deity by name. You just say all the great ones, all the holy ones, all the ancient.
okay,
Like just do it like that. All the
okay,
archangels, all the angels, whatever. Do it,
okay.
do it like that. Yeah.
And then this also brings to mind that I have these Tibetan bowls that I bought when you guys were here
Mhm.
a while ago, and I love, love, love them.
Mhm.
And one is a G, which is for the throat, and I intuitively, without realizing it was for the throat, have been drawn to it the most.
Mhm.
And I just intuitively put an amethyst in it. And that amethyst now, when I take it out of the bowl, has a different something about it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, sure.
okay.
So the thing with, especially a genuine bowl, like because there's kind of like touristy bowls, and then there's like the bowls that they really use in the practices and stuff, is their energy transmitters. And so you could use that a couple of different ways. Here we were just talking about this last night. Here in maybe a month or two, we're going to start doing a regular practice with Tibetan bowls. And the thing, so you could use it a couple of different ways. So that is one of them. Like you don't even have to hit the bowl or anything, but in the early days, that I would teach students, like if you want to like juice up your oils, is you put them inside a Tibetan bowl and just let it be for a little bit of time, like overnight or something, and it will amplify the effects of the the plant. And so we do kind of a version of that here, like with all the stuff that we make and everything. Another way to do it is you hold the bowl, and then you look at the item that you're wanting, because you're kind of cleaning it and energizing. It's probably not the right word. It's probably more
Activating it, maybe?
like activating it, or it's like like you're changing the vibration of it, really, is kind of what it always feels like to me. Like you're stepping up the vibration, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, the energy gets stronger, but I don't think it's because of a projection of energy. I think it's because it's like the bowl becomes more alive. Like in some of the more shamanic kind of Buddhist practices, they would say that the item becomes spirited. It's got more spirit to it. And so, like, I would align that more with like vibration than anything. And so you look at the item, and then you ding the bowl while you're looking at the item. and you keep listening to the sound, but you stay one pointed on the item. That's like a different version of doing it. So, I mean, you could actually kind of clean your crystals that way and raise the vibration. I would still consecrate it, but you know, there's different things you can do with the bowls. One of the best things, especially the metal bowls, like what you got, the putting your awareness on the body, it will relax the somatic nerves. That's even the idea of, like, you see when the Buddhist guys, they're going like this, and then they have a bell, and they'll go like this, and then they'll ring the bell, and then they'll go like this, and then they'll go, and then they'll ring the bell. Part of what they're doing is helping the body be able to handle more energy, and for the body not to be reactive. And so, pretty much what you're doing is you're calming down the agitation in the body that has to do with the shift. Because even when you do something super positive, even when you're in a relationship and you have this deep, like, loving experience, or you do this meditation, you have this deep meditation experience, part of it is your physiology is having to make a shift, and your physiology is not always happy about it. I'd like the experience, but then there's like an agitation that kind of comes with it. And so, here we're talking about how to calm it down with plants and things like that. Even certain kinds of shells, like purple spiny oyster will do it. The conch shell, like in the Buddhist tradition, mother of pearl will do it a little bit. How the Indians wear a little mother of pearl, like on their breastplate, like here. That will do it. Coral, red coral will do it, like genuine red coral. There's a lot of fake red coral out there, so you got to be sure it's genuine. The coral will do it, and basically it calms down the agitation from a shift. And so you can do that with your bowl. Like, you have a deep meditation, and then when you're done, you bang the bowl and just meditate on the sound and feel it in your body. Or, for us, we use a bell, like sometimes it's easier to travel with than a bowl, because the bowls are big, and so, but at home we use bowls. And so again, the idea is to stabilize the body after you've made a shift. So you either can go deeper, or you come out of it and you're already like kind of stabilized, where when you have like a deep experience, and kind of even like what happened with you when you did all the fascia work, is you made a bunch of shifts, and then the body is like, ugh, you made a bunch of shifts. The body is like, you gotta give me a month to like work this out, or whatever it was. And it just takes a while to allow the body to stabilize. The more that it gets used to it, the better it gets at it. Like it's not like it's every time you got to do this. Like if you keep working it, it actually gets better and better at it. But the crystals go through a very similar thing. Same with the plants. Like the plants will do that. I mean, one of the things that I do is I make sure that the plants, the divas of the plants, are all like stable when I'm working with them, and if not, I do a little healing on them, or consecration, and
Well,
shift.
so it's not a bad thing to show gratitude to the oils as you're using them.
Sure. But gratitude won't always calm it down. Like there's still like a piece about like calming down that agitation, and you could do it with bowls.
Okay. Well, I play them a few times a day.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's not an effort. It's a joy. So
yeah, my practice spell is right on the coffee table. Like when I sit down, I need it like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah. And I've got one of the bells that I bought through you guys as well that I do play, and I put them in places where I pass them all day long. And so, yeah, I sent you the picture of my painting, and that's where my bowls are. It's right below that.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks. So just one quick question
Sure.
is related to these stones. I have a real history with earrings that have stones in them breaking, losing them. And it's not my other jewelry, it's just the earrings.
Yeah, I don't know that that's super weird. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like, a couple of things I would say with that. Like sometimes they're not always set really well, unless they're really expensive, maybe. But so there could be a little bit of that. But the
It's
other
not
thing
the
is,
stone falling out though. It's not that. It's
right, but
like
just the thing breaks. Yeah.
the thing breaks, or like yeah, like the way that it's put together. And it's very interesting to me that I've started to see that it's just the the earrings that have real stones in them.
Hmm. So there's that, and then the other thing is like sometimes when a stone gets really dirty, it starts to fracture and break.
Okay.
And so the stone part, I don't know necessarily, like if it was the metal, it would give you a little bit of a rash, or irritation or something. But when the stones get dirty, they'll break, they'll fracture, they'll do something. I mean, I've literally had crystals break in my hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all this.
So just clean them up from, even just like with a little alcohol or chant om over them or something like that.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And enjoy Santa Fe.
Yeah, I will do.
And then go ahead, Robert, then Letty.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
So I have a series of things that have put me in a spot with basically sinuses full, postnasal drip, cough, uh, and I was away for part of the last 5 days. And so I don't know how to bring all my oils with me. I meant to
Sure.
bring Anula, but I didn't. But I got home earlier today and started breathing Anula, and that seems to help. But listening to all these people talk about their experiences, is there something I can do or programming wise to help support in a longer term sense? Because I tend to get a lot of sinus, I don't want to say infections, but sinus issues.
Just in general.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah.
of the two ways my body reacts when there's a problem.
And is it always involved with travel? Or is it like doesn't matter, you'll get it at
Well,
home, but
it doesn't matter. This was a whole series. So I had my semi-annual teeth cleaning on Wednesday or Thursday, and then we left Thursday to go to a hot spring. Then we moved to watch our granddaughter for 4 days, and she was a little sick. So all of it played into each other.
yeah.
My teeth are great. I have no problem with my teeth, but it seems that every time I have them cleaned, I go through some, I don't want to say illness, but just like not feeling great for a few days.
Okay. Let's have you do rosemary verbena internally, maybe 2-3 drops a couple of times a day. That should be good for, again, going back to the restorative. It is a restorative, but also very good for the sinuses. It's not going to be miraculous or overnight, but it will start nudging you into the direction of getting better. If you want, you could also augment with Neoli. And, Neoli is like in the tea tree family. And so it's very good for like pumping up the immune system, but not overstimulating it, and good for respiratory related issues. It's also very good antiviral, and it's also a tonic for like the pituitary gland and things like that. So kind of good for these kinds of situations.
How would I use the Neoli?
I would probably still do it internal. Like I would do 2 or 3 drops, once or twice a day. I would do that, but I'd also kind of treat what you got going on right now, like that you're a bit sick. not in just not sinuses, but you probably got exposed to something.
Right.
I don't know about the teeth cleaning. Like I think that, that could always be bacterias get like busted loose and you have a little
Right.
bit of a thing. And so maybe a little bay laurel, rinsing the mouth out a few times before you go and then taking bay laurel afterwards. I mean, I think that's why sometimes dentists will have certain people take antibiotics when they have a dental procedure, just because that is always a potential.
Mhm.
And so
I've been
I don't
taking
know that
Laurel.
I'd read a whole lot into that, other than stuff just
No,
gets broken free and whatever.
right. I've been on
And
Bay Laurel for several weeks now. Just
okay,
it felt good. So
yeah.
I haven't stopped it, but I also know it's not the only thing.
And are you doing Melissa or no?
Yeah, right now I'm on the Spadric, Melissa.
Yeah, that should be good enough. Okay. And I would probably do some golden seal, like golden seal root. Like, so if you don't have that, you can pick it up at most health food stores. Or if you go on Amazon, you could have it in a couple of days.
Okay.
But like if you could run out and get some, or your wife run out and get some, you know, not every health food store carries it. Don't get it mixed with a bunch of things. Like sometimes they'll have golden seal and echinacea, which means that's really just a bunch of echinacea with, some golden seal dust mixed in with it. And so get just plain golden seal and make sure it's the root. Like every once in a while they'll try to slide in the leaf. And the leaf is like a cheap substitute that people try to, pawn off as being.
Mhm.
So, and then with that, 3 capsules twice a day.
Okay.
Yeah, that should reduce the mucus quite substantially, clean up the nose, and if there's mucus in the gut, it will clean up the gut a bit and stimulate the lymphatic system.
Okay. So is there a long-term, like or a program I need to work on?
I would work the sinus, the sinus program. I would work that, and I would take the rosemary verbena internally, and feels like there's one more thing.
Angelica?
Do you sweat a lot?
Not typically. I sweat when it's hot or when I'm exerting myself.
Okay, but not like abnormal amount.
No.
Let's have you put like marjoram, like several drops. You could just do it neat, several drops on your abdomen, but daily.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the thing is, yes, it's an antispasmodic and it helps like pull the body out of fight, flight, and rest and repair. I think we're using it a little bit for that, but there's like some stresses that can happen in the gut that will rise up to the sinuses. And the rosemary verbena internally should diminish some of that, but let's just give it an extra boost with putting the marjoram on the gut. that should also be helpful.
Okay, I do know my gut's been agitated the last several days with the coughing from the postnasal drip.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sure that will help. And
Like,
do
and
this
try to like rub it, like even if you put it in with a little bit of alcohol or massage oil or lotion, like try to cover the whole abdomen.
Okay.
Yeah. And
And
take
do
like
this,
6-8 drops, a little bit of lotion, rub it together, and then just try to cover everything.
until the symptoms are gone.
I would do it till the symptoms are gone, but like the rosemary, verbena, and internally in the marjoram, I do for a little while just to try to prevent potential sinus issues in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
Thank you.
sometimes the digestive stuff is, sometimes it's the muscle, your abdominal muscles have like a tension in them, and they do a radiating like pattern, and like we pick up on the pain, but sometimes it causes like dysfunction in the tissue down below, and so over the gut it will impact the gut, and so it will cause like weird stresses and things that could rise up as well. Or do you have any sort of back pain or achiness or anything?
At the moment, no, but up until about 3 weeks ago, I was having sciatic pain, and I've been working with the physical therapist who's helped me work on the body in a different way, physically.
Okay, so but it's a sciatic issue.
Yes,
Do you happen to have any quercetin?
yes, I take it every day.
Okay, maybe bump up your dosage then, because
Okay.
the thing with the sciatic nerve is one of the few nerves in the body that will directly impact the immune system, and it can really aggravate allergies. And
Okay.
so, I mean, this could even be like a crazy allergic response, but that you had all those other things and exposure and your symptoms still sounds and feels a little viral, but
Hmm.
let's still just knock out like the using any sort of like quercetin is an antihistamine, a natural antihistamine, and so when there's sciatic issue, the antihistamine won't improve the sciatic at all, but it improves the side effects of having sciatica. And one
Okay.
of the issues with sciatica is compromised immune system and allergies.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe because did your wife get sick?
It's hard to tell. She's still with the granddaughter.
Okay.
She's not coming home till
Because
Thursday.
I would say probably if you didn't have that sciatica, you might not have gotten sick. Because it will compromise the immune system enough to where you get sick much easier.
Okay.
Yeah, much easier. And so, nothing you can do about it when the hip starts doing that or when the back starts. Still just compensate for that, the sciatic was being an issue, and so like try that.
Okay.
But then also do the sinus,
Sinus support.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome, and keep me posted on that.
I will. Thanks.
You bet.
And then go ahead, Letty, then Rosemary.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam.
Hey, so I hear tomorrow's the big day.
Yes, hopefully, like we'll see what happens. Greg, adding to Robert, what about Angelica for like the postnasal drip? Like, I mean, I know it
Yeah,
gives
especially when it's really running. Like he sounded a little bit more stopped up, but like when it's just like a faucet and it won't turn off, Angelica is really good for that.
yeah, I mean, like, and when you feel like on the back of your throat, like it at least gives you, like you take it, and I feel like it gives you some relief for like a good, half hour. But then you
Yeah.
have to take it again, and of course, it doesn't taste the nicest. But just thought I'd throw that out for Robert.
Yeah. So
Um,
how are you doing? How's your arm doing?
Thanks, Letty.
You're welcome, Robert. So it's, it looks kind of bad. But I kind of wanted
How'd you
to,
burn it? How'd you burn it?
well, that's kind of what I want to talk to you about, because I feel like there was like, like the movie of a series of unfortunate events. That's what happened to me in Fort Worth. It started off with before my burnt was someone that my son knows, I mean someone that my daughter's boyfriend lives at the apartment went and told my my daughter's boyfriend that they had saw a boot on my car. So that was one thing first. And my daughter was saying, I seriously doubt that they're gonna put a a boot on your car. There's way too many people here. Sure enough. So anyway, that my Saturday morning started like that. And then, I was trying to get the dryer connected for her, and that's how I got this big old burn by
Oh, gotcha.
messing with the electrical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a pretty loud bang. I mean, I'm lucky I'm alive.
Yeah. Crazy.
So it was just like one thing after another down there. And then of course, then to top it off, I came back home because it's not going to be till tomorrow. So I wanted to come back, work a couple of days, and then head on back over there again.
Yeah.
Was it just a full moon thing or just something so random? I just felt like there were so many like different little things happening.
Yeah, like especially, you know, weird vibes are in the air right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say, you know, I'd say as a country, there's weird vibes up in the air, and so I think everybody's feeling a little something, even though if you're not paying attention to anything going on, it's still impacting people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happens. You know.
Okay. So on my burn, like I let it first dry out before I can start putting anything on it, or what do you think?
With burns, a lot of times you keep them moist. So there's different theories on that. I tend like you could keep putting aloe vera on it,
Mm-hmm.
and you could mix a little lavender in with that. It will suck a lot of the heat out of it. German chamomile would also work. There's been times where if I didn't have those, I'd use helichrysum. But one of the ways that I used to treat burns when I was seeing people in person, and burns can be like burn like what you're talking about, or like if somebody like a cyclist or a motorcycle person would slide on the asphalt, so that's an abrasion, but it's still kind of a burn as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is I would mix some lavender and aloe vera, and then I put it on the area, but I'd also put it on some of the gauze, and then make like kind of like a plaster of sorts. And then you get that netting, and you just kind of hold it in place, and then like a couple of times a day you pull it off, and you still have to scrub it, which is super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But and then you just keep putting it on, and it takes it out relatively quickly. Like it's pretty quick.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so,
because I hadn't had a chance to do anything with it other than to just put like antibiotic ointment on it because I was,
yeah.
I didn't.
And
I was
is it
telling
looking
Sam,
in?
I was like, lesson learned, travel with lavender.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, does it look infected?
Um,
It's usually swollen and red, but like, infection would you start to see like pus and things like
no
that.
pus on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just very raw type,
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure like if I could put any oils on or anything. I was just kind of.
I mean, if it's raw, I definitely put it in with the aloe vera. Like, get the aloe vera gel just like at the drugstore or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And then just, and if it doesn't feel good, just rinse it right off. And yeah.
Okay.
I always found, because I used to have this conversation way, way, way back in the day. And I had a couple different friends that were plastic surgeons.
Mhm.
And the thing that they would always tell me is to keep it wet, keep it like that, keep it wet. And then the other thing, like if you don't want to use the aloe vera and the lavender, is you go to the drugstore and you get that the betadine cream, like there's different kinds of betadine. Like there'll be like a wash that you scrub down with, but like it's a cream, like toothpaste kind of. And you put it all over and then like wrap
Drop
that
it.
up. Yeah. And so the idea would be to keep it moist. And that actually reduces some of the pain, you know, because as it dries out, it starts to pull on some of the surrounding tissues. But different doctors would have different approaches. Like some doctors would say, let it dry out. You know, the plastic surgeon guys that I knew said keep them moist. But like, you know, sometimes theories change over a period of time. But for myself, I always kept them moist and it reduced the pain substantially. And, you know, it will develop like a little bit of like a, you know how like when a scab is forming, like
Mhm.
there's kind of like a little like yellowish whitish part, like it will be more liquid and you have to keep like kind of scrubbing that off. But it will heal faster. And my experience is, again, I'm just going on what the surgeons told me, but they said it has less potential for scarring.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel
And
like
I mean, I
older
don't know
I
that you're
yeah,
worried about scarring, but still just means that it heals better.
okay.
Yeah.
And I think like I don't know if it has to do with like I'm thinking with age, like I'm scarring, like I'm having a hard time like getting rid of like different bruises and stuff as I'm getting older. Like does it happen to everybody?
That usually is a vitamin C deficiency. Like I would say like even a little bit of spontaneous bruising, or you start bruising real easy, or the bruises aren't going away fast. So for one, helichrysum or hyssop on an area, if the skin is broken, just helichrysum. But if the skin is not broken, then you could also use hyssop if you wanted. So either way, that will be helpful. But the more that you increase the vitamin C, it'll be harder for you to bruise, and you know, you won't bruise as bad.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So of
I
course
mean,
it's not
I treated this one lady, for example, and I mean, she was going to the Mayo Clinic, and like you could just like barely touch her, and she would bruise. And you know, she was saying, you know, she'd been tested for all kinds of things, leukemia, like they went through the whole thing. They couldn't figure out what it was. I just had her start throwing quercetin down her throat like 3 or 4 times a day. And this had been going on for years and it stopped. It like completely stopped. And
okay.
like, you know, it was to the point where if you just touched her, like you could see like little bruises forming. And so anytime you see that, you know, you're looking at that the veins are potentially fragile, and there's a breakdown in collagen, and so the C helps to stabilize all that, and helps the veins retain its like elasticity and strength.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll
you're so welcome.
I'll
And
get
send us a picture when it happens.
yes, I will. Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
And then go ahead, Rosemary, then Megan.
Hey, Rosemary.
Let's get you unmuted. Let's try this. I don't know if you're on a computer or not. I know it's gonna maybe take a sec to unmute. At the bottom of your screen, if you're on a computer, it's a little microphone. I don't know if that's working or not. Keep trying, Rosemary. Just get yourself unmuted and we'll come right back to you, okay? So just keep trying to unmute. And then go ahead, Megan.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Do you see the camera if I open my camera? I don't know if that is visible or if you care, but anyway, sometimes it's nicer to talk to people when you see their face. In any case, I was gonna follow up with what we talked about last week, like what sounds like an old pattern with just like kind of having trouble with career, not making money, not like finding, you know, good job opportunities and stuff. I've been doing the Sisters with the 4 quadrants of the aura and then the 3 brains pattern. And it does feel like it's like something feels different. Like it feels like I'm sort of kind of coming online, like interacting with things, like something could actually happen. Instead, before I always felt like I was like just totally in a bubble that like nothing could come through. So I like that feeling, and I'm going to keep doing it. But since I'm kind of an impatient person, is there anything else I can add to that, like a class that would complement that really well, or just like an issue connected with that?
Intuition and healing the past, like that.
Okay, that one I haven't taken.
Yeah. That's the one that I would say, if you were going to work it, like what you're trying to do with the Sistis is what, like a scaled down version of what that class is. And so if you try to do it with single oils, Sistis, Sistis. I mean, tuberose might be one that you could throw in that mix, but like if you have it, if you don't have it, then I would just say
Yeah, I do. So you're saying the same thing?
same protocol. Yeah, same protocol. Yeah.
Do you have a sense of, because as you know, in the past, I've just been barking up the wrong tree so many times in so many ways. If the healing practice is something, when I do the materialization technique, like that's a good place to keep pursuing success, or because I'm kind of neutral at this point, like the idea of going out and just doing regular jobs, trying to.
I would say like focus on the healing practice, but also just focus on, like I do a reflection on just seeing yourself like basically the lifestyle, like happy, like with the implication that you're working, but you're not really defining what that is. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to turn on intuition to kind of drive you to the thing that your senses aren't, and so and if you think like when we're innovative, that's intuition, that's not intellect. And when we're learning, that's intuition, that's not intellect. And so when you're bringing in something that's not already in momentum, intellect is very good for maintaining something, but it's not good for solving a problem or bringing in something new or enhancing something. And so all of those are tied to like intuitive processes. So you want to just keep doing things that stimulate intuition, and that, active intuition, active clairvoyance, whatever you want to call it. So three brain practices are always good. Materialization breath is always good. Cleaning up the aura, the quadrants of the aura, that's always good. Just like looking at something for you. Hold on. Mm. Yeah, there's the thing in your prefrontal cortex. Didn't you like a long time ago, like a year or so ago, didn't you get some Embrit?
Yeah.
Let's have you use the Embrit and focus on your ajna and then your temples. especially your right temple. I would even take a drop and rub it into the temple over there, to be honest. You know, that's still in the dealing with the executive functions and like behaviors, and part of executive functions are like monitoring our efforts and the environment to produce a result, right? And so there's kind of a left side version and a right side version, and the right side being a little bit more of the intuitive component, and there's a bit of a blockage up there. It's pretty normal, it's very common, and so I wouldn't read a lot into it, but it's I think the more that you diminish that, the more things, you know, with everything that we're talking about, that could be another little piece that just help things flow.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
One more, this is an easy
Mhm.
one. Jay's getting allergy shots for seasonal and pet allergies, and I'm told him to take allergy support in water, like at least on the day he's getting the shot, or just to kind of, I don't know, sort of calm things down and just help. Is there anything else to
Some sort
support
of
that?
anti-inflammatory, like black cumin, turmeric, ginger, frankincense, you know, something that's just a bit anti-inflammatory in his body or his system.
Okay.
Even a little German chamomile, you know, the day of and maybe a day or two after. Those allergy shots do cause a lot of, you know, you're tempering the body so that you don't have the allergies, but it does cause a bunch of inflammation.
Yeah,
And so I would just offset the inflammation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Rosemary. I think you'll be able to.
Hey,
go
Rosemary.
with the other one. Yes.
Hi, Greg. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. I have two questions for you, please.
Mhm.
The first one is about my husband who has had some lower back pain for a while.
Okay.
It's not the sciatic nerve, but it's the area around it is inflamed. It's inflamed. It's in the lower back, the L5.
Okay.
Yeah, he's had it for a few years, and the last thing he did was take some steroids, and that helped while he was taking it, and soon afterwards. But it hasn't gone away. It still hurts when he stands. So the last thing he was told is to take an ice bath for 5 days, which he hasn't tried yet, or an epidural shot.
So
So
is it, did they say SI joint, or did they say it's like, right, the issue is L5, L4, like things like that? Did they say what they think the issue is?
yeah, he has spondylosis ever since he
Okay.
was a kid, so he's got that. So I think, yeah, it was the L5. It's in the lower back. It started off on the right-hand side, and that was a few years ago. And then he had numbness in his left leg, and yeah.
Okay, that's getting kind of bad. Yeah. So you know, you have a couple of different choices, and I would probably do this in phases. So the thing that I like to do is use like there's a blend called Pain Soothe, and there's another one called Nerve Help. And
Okay.
I would rotate between those two on the spine, and you know, off to the side of that spine on that side, and down into the hip, into like the butt cheek. I would rotate those two. The one that I would say you could work in at some point, I mean, you could even probably start with it, but the thing that I like about Pain Soothe and Nerve Help is Pain Soothe is a very good general body treatment for pain in the body, and it's relaxing to the tissue. You know, when he's had chronic pain like that, the body tenses up to try to protect that area, and it keeps you from moving your back, but a lot of times it makes the matter worse. And so it's a way to kind of calm that down. And then the nerve help is it's anti-inflammatory, it's anti-spasmodic, but it also helps to calm the nerves down. And whenever you have a chronic pain pattern, those nerves get used to like being in that pattern. And so it's almost like they wake up in the morning going, okay, new day, 9 to 5, we got to be in pain. Like, it's like the body just kind of like stays stuck in that like cycle. And the nerve help really helps to break the nervous system out of that cycle of pain. And so those two, I use those two alternatively quite a bit. The
Right.
one that I said you might want to work in like a little bit later is there's a pain relief neuropathic, which means nerve pain. And
Right.
I would also, maybe put that on the spine itself at some point, but I'd probably start with those two. And
Okay.
then I would also like have him use like you could do a couple of different things here. You could use galbanum, which is in the frankincense family, and it's very good about pain. But the other one that I would say maybe instead of is the Sylvester pine. And the thing with the Sylvester pine is it elevates the production of cortisone in the body. Like, it doesn't have cortisone in it, but it makes your body produce more cortisone. And when you're dealing with really chronic pain issues or joint issues, Sylvester pine can really help kind of take the edge off and take some of the inflammation out of the nerves. And
Right.
so, like I do 3 or 4 drops a couple of times a day on the wrist with that. And
Okay, for the Sylvester pine.
yeah,
Okay.
the Sylvester pine. Yeah.
Um,
So I would do those 3 things. I would do nerve help, pain soothe, and Sylvester pine on the wrist. The pain soothe and the nerve help directly on the areas, right? And then the Sylvester pine just on the wrist a couple of times a day.
okay, and are you talking about over a few weeks or so to be using
I would
the?
do it for a while, and if that's his condition, he'll probably need to do it from time to time. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
with
Like
with.
whenever it flares up, like I'd always have it kind of handy.
Mhm.
The other thing is you can always use like things like marjoram to be antispasmodic, but I think you're getting enough antispasmodic activity out of the 2 blends that you're going to be applying topically. So I don't know that you need to really,
Yeah.
put in another thing there. But
Okay.
how is his sleep?
Pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I would say those 3 things. Yeah, if he's sleeping good or even decent, then
Mhm.
he's ahead of the game. So
Okay. Okay. Great. And thank you. And
yeah,
the other question is, it's about myself. I have this issue going on for a couple of years. It's like I tend to burp a lot for I don't know why it's going on. I feel I probably carry a lot of tension. Um, One point the doctor put me on the acid reducer just for a few weeks in the spring of 2022, but yeah, I mean I take a little bit of the apple cider vinegar in the morning and water,
does
and I
it
take
help?
aloe vera. It hasn't really made a big difference. No, it still
Do you get
happens.
the hiccups a lot?
I don't know. I hardly ever get hiccups. I used to years ago, but no, I don't get that anymore. Sometimes it happens when I'm in bed at night. I turn one way and it just starts burping, or turn, yeah, the other way, but I
And
feel more anxious.
so after you eat, do you feel weird? Do you feel tired? Do you feel
No, I feel good
hungry?
actually after I eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't happen after that. Sometimes actually it happens first thing in the morning when my stomach is empty, or during the day when I know I need to eat too. So,
I would try using anise internally.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
like
Yeah.
anise. And as weird as it sounds, it actually could be up high. Like the problem could be up like in here.
Okay.
But regardless if it's here or down in the gut, anise should have, it's going to balance out the autonomic nervous system. So for one, that's good. And two, relaxing to, the swallowing mechanism, relaxing to the diaphragm. But there's a thing that like sometimes what happens, like when there's some tension up high, is that like while we talk or we eat, sometimes we're also gulping air a little bit.
Yeah.
And it kind of has to do with like the swallowing mechanism more than the breathing mechanism. And because of that, it will cause a lot of burping. And so the anise should, it's probably not going to do something, the day you take it, but after a few days, you start to notice like, hey, I'm not burping like as much. And then over a little time, you'll go, hey, I'm not burping at all or something, but it will be over a little period of time, and just probably like 1 or 2 drops. You could do it just once a day, but if you want to go crazy with it and do it a couple of times a day, do it, put a little bit of water and just drink it. But that will hit several different things. And most likely, I think that will resolve that issue for you.
Oh, great. Yeah, someone mentioned maybe silent reflux years ago, and I have mild asthma, and I don't know if there would be a connection there.
You do have a little bit of asthma?
Yes, I was diagnosed with a mild asthma, but it doesn't really affect my day-to-day living. Or,
Okay, that kind of reinforces what I'm thinking. Like I think we're on the right track.
Okay.
And so, does your asthma get worse with exercise or being like really super active? Did your asthma get a little bit flared up?
Yeah, it probably does. I find a harder time breathing, and when I go upstairs, I'm like, if I climb a good flight of stairs, I can tell my breathing is more heavy. But I don't take anything for the asthma. I mean, simply because I don't like taking stuff. The doctor put me on a steroid a while ago, but
Right.
I haven't taken it. And then she said to use something else for exercise, but I haven't needed it.
So,
But
like with that, that's probably more allergy related asthma. And
okay.
so, the use of quercetin, which is like it's a crude form of vitamin C, a lot of times you can reduce the asthma symptoms quite substantially. Like 90% of asthmatics, be it whatever degree, there's usually a vitamin C deficiency because our body doesn't store vitamin C. So, we constantly have to be running vitamin C through our body. And so the thing with quercetin, because it's crude, it stays in our body for a much longer period of time. And so it will elevate the serum levels quite substantially. And a lot of times, like even when somebody's on an inhaler, if we treat it pretty substantially with the quercetin, within 30 days, we usually can get them off an inhaler. And sometimes we need to augment it with a couple other things, but quercetin you just get at any health food store, and just get it by itself, like quercetin, and it always comes with bromelain. But other things mixed in with it, we could care less about. Just the quercetin and the bromelain is all we're really shooting for. And that should improve the asthma. The reason I was asking, like sometimes like you'll be fine, going up the stairs, I would say that's kind of like normal asthma. But say like you were fine, you're going up and down the stairs, and you weren't having asthma related symptoms. And then at the end of the day, you started going up and down the stairs after doing it 100 times. And then all of a sudden you start getting asthma. That would be exercise induced asthma, which is a fish oil deficiency, like, the omegas. And so I think you're better off with the quercetin, to be honest.
Okay, and take that continuously
I would take it at least for probably 60 days or 90 days. Like if you don't have that bad asthma, it probably won't take very long. If somebody had really bad asthma, I would say you're going to be on it for like 6-8 months. But if you don't have it bad, like you can calm it down and then from time to time just do a little tune up. Like, when it's allergy season or something, you just do a little tune up for a week or two.
Okay, okay, great. And is that spelled with a C? Is it quercetin?
Yeah, quercetin is Quercetin or something.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're able to access the chat, Robert
Okay.
posts the link there, the spelling. We also have a link if you'd like to quercetin on Amazon.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
well as the anise as well. So
Great. Thank you so much.
You're
I really
so welcome. And keep us posted. Let us know, like in a week or two, how your husband's doing and how you're doing.
great. Will do. Thanks again. I really
You're so
appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you.
and then go ahead, Brenda, then David.
Hey, Brenda.
Hi, I just want to
Hey.
follow up from my question the other day with my right knee, and you encouraged me to put spikenard on it.
Uh-huh.
It's better,
Okay.
but I also have an ache that's become more prominent in my right hip, sits bone area. And so I'm wondering if I need to add something or just be more liberal with the spikenard.
So the knee is feeling better, but you're feeling it in that same hip and it's deep in the socket, or is it off to the side, or?
It's in the back. I've had hip surgery on that side. I have a hip replacement. But that's
How long ago was the hip replacement?
2018.
2018, so. Okay. And they went in through the front or they went in through the side?
Front.
And how is the scar on that? Is that scar pretty okay, or?
Yeah. I put a lot of helichrysum on it.
Good. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you're still getting a little bit.
And the knee, when I walk, I actually have fear around doing too much walking. Don't want to make it worse. It starts feeling there's a certain amount of walking that's okay, and then it starts feeling thick in there.
Yeah. Inflamed. Yeah. Does it ever feel like your leg's gonna go out?
No,
Okay.
it feels not stable. Like I got to think about rolling my foot through the walk and trying to be really mindful of the use of my knee straight ahead.
And so the pain in the hip, you said it was on the backside?
Yeah, that's where it is. In this,
Okay. So you like what other oils do you have? Like what do you have?
I have helichrysum or galbanum or green healer.
Okay.
Or I've got quite a few. I don't know what best to use.
Do you have like helichrysum or marjoram or anything?
Yes.
Okay. Let's have you like start rotating between helichrysum, marjoram, and the spikenard, and just putting it on the backside of that hip, and even on the side a little bit. And you could do it with a little lotion or a little rubbing alcohol, or little whatever kind of alcohol, and like rub it all together and then cover that area.
Okay.
Do that a couple of times a day. And sometimes with the surgery, some of the muscles, they're really good at that surgery. They're really, really good at that surgery, but still sometimes some of the muscles need a little attention after the fact. And so let's have you do that. I'd still stick on that with the knee, but how does it feel with the hamstrings? Like, do your hamstrings feel real tight, or especially
No, actually, the physical therapist was surprised they weren't tight.
Okay. So, I mean, you're doing all the right stuff. Do you have, like, you could do a little rotate, maybe a little helichrysum, or do you have any sort of chamomile or yarrow?
I do have yarrow.
Yeah, let's have you rotate between spikenard and yarrow on that knee.
Okay. But not the yarrow up higher.
You could, but like I want to try to. I mean, it sounds like at some point of having movement, your knee starts to get a little inflamed, and
Yes.
so I want to just try to reduce that inflammation in that area, as whatever kind of, the cause of the inflammation is probably still coming from up high.
Okay.
Like with the hip, and then by the time he gets down there, it's just, manifesting a little worse. And so let's still stabilize the knee, but treat the hip. But the yarrow, if you want to try yarrow on the hip, I mean, it's worth a shot, but definitely yarrow on the knee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And rotate through helichrysum and marjoram on the knee, or just between the
You
spike?
could. Yeah,
yarrow?
you could. Yeah, you
Okay.
could. Yeah.
And not combine them, just rotate.
I would do them singly. Like, every once in a while you go, "Ah, I could combine it all," but we're really wanting the individual properties of each one. And when you mix them, sometimes those properties don't kind of come through in the blend. And
Okay.
so I'd like to see, like, part of it too is we're also going to see what you respond to the best. Like when you go, like, "Oh, they all feel good, but yarrow feels amazing."
Mhm.
Then we know, okay, we got to double down on some inflammatory issues. Or you were doing it in marjoram, it feels amazing. Then it's like, okay, well, maybe we need to deal with muscle tension and spasms and things like that. From what you're describing, though, it's probably more yarrow and spikenard and stuff like that. You probably have like a little bit of the piriformis is flaring up and pushing on a nerve or something, and that's probably what's happening.
Okay. The hip replacement was due to a fall, a fracture from a fall. And I think there was some scrambling of tissue in there.
Yeah. So you fell and hit your side, or you fell from the front, or
Fell and hit the side and crushed the head in the socket.
yeah.
I can feel you
Yeah.
feeling.
What's that?
I can feel you.
Feel me looking
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
get out of my hip.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm saying show him everything. Come on.
Right. I mean, with that kind of injury, the thing that usually you're concerned about, but this would be before the hip surgery, would be there's these little groups of muscles that run around the head of the femur, that little ball.
Mhm.
And there are a bunch of names, but they're just these, they call them lateral rotators. And so whenever you have like a jamming injury,
Mhm.
like a fall, or you hit something and hit the brake and like tighten up your leg,
Mhm.
something like that, and the ball goes into the socket and pushes pretty hard. The cartilage gets damaged somewhat, but those muscles go into spasm. And it could be that you're still dealing with some spasms in those lateral rotators. I mean, what you're describing sounds more like the piriformis, but
Mhm.
doesn't mean that the lateral rotators aren't in there. But the good thing is the things that we're talking about still would treat that.
Okay.
And so, even if we're wrong in our assessment, the treatment would still stay pretty similar. And so, with that, if we are trying to treat something deeper, instead of, you could put it on neat, but I actually kind of like the idea of mixing it with a little bit of alcohol, just because the alcohol will take it deeper into
Okay.
the joint. And so just get, you know, like, something with a high octane, like the stronger the alcohol, the more penetrating it is to the bone.
Okay.
And you could either use, you could use rubbing alcohol, but get the 91 version, or get like vodka or stronger, and then mix the oil in that and then rub it on the area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do that. One last piece,
Mhm.
if I may.
Sure.
When that flares up, and there will be occasionally, and I haven't found out what it is that makes it, but pain on the left side of the sternum and that shows up. And so I've been putting spikenard on that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's the best.
Does it help?
It seems to.
So that could be a couple of things. Like most likely that is like when there's the pain, it starts to throw the breathing off, the respiration off, and you'll start to develop a little bit of bronchial spasms.
Okay.
And so the manifestation sometimes is like pressure or pain on the breastbone.
Yes.
And so that would relax those muscles. But I would say even try inhaling the spikenard just to see like spikenard or like hyssop, sitka, spruce, frankincense, even the German chamomile. The yarrow would actually probably even work to decrease the spasms in the bronchioles, which will make the breathing better, but it will also diminish pain.
Okay.
Especially when you're having the kind of pain, there's different kinds of pain. And so when you're dealing with like nerve pain or sharp pain, something like that, or that like toothache kind of pain, it's always going to throw the bronchioles into a bit of a spasm because it's the nerve is being irritated. And so the body has a reaction that,
Okay.
Within a short amount of time, it's like, I usually say within at least 14 days, but a lot of times it's within a couple of days, the bronchioles will start spasming. And so it's just the body's reaction to pain,
Okay.
And so just unwind that because that will actually even help the hip and the knee do better.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's pretty good. I mean, I think with the oils that you have, like you can function with treating those areas, including the respiratory tract. The respiratory tract, I do like a couple of times a day. Even if it's feeling okay, see how that treats you inhaling that. And the spikenard will slow the breath down. So if you feel like your breath is getting very rapid, that will calm that down. But between that and treating the hip and the knee, that should produce some results.
All right. I will report. Thank you so
And then
much.
if it doesn't, that tells us a big chunk of something that we need to be aggressive and do something completely different. But that should nail it.
All right. Thank you so much, Greg.
You're so welcome. Keep us posted though.
Okay.
And go ahead, David, and then we have some chats.
Hey, David.
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
So I've got several questions. I'll start with, I think, the easy ones. So I'm taking the oils internally that you talked about for brain function, memory, and focus. And I'm waiting an hour between each one of them. Is that okay? Or can I do it?
Yeah, you probably don't even need to wait that long. Like give it 5 or 10 minutes or something.
Oh, cool. Okay. So I'm doing rosemary, holy basil, helichrysum, peppermint. I wasn't sure about eucalyptus globulus, if that could be.
That you don't need to take internal.
Okay.
Yeah. But the other ones are all good. Yeah.
Okay. And then also during the day I'm taking galbium and angelica seed.
Right. Perfect.
Okay. So that's easy. Sleep. Sometimes I'm sleeping, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm waking up. Well, I'm always waking up. Sometimes I need the herbal support in the middle of the night. So sometimes it's 2 or 3 times that I'm taking it in the middle of the night, and I'm taking 2 dropperfuls. And then there's other times where even if I take it, I'm still awake for 2 hours.
So are there times where you're sleeping like normally, or is it still always abnormal?
I think every time I say the word abnormal, I think of the movie Young Frankenstein. But yeah, I got the abnormal one. I don't think I'm sleeping as deeply as I could.
Okay.
There's once in a great while I am, but most of the time I'm not. And I know I'm getting probably tomorrow the Lady Slipper and Valerian. So
Okay.
Is there anything, and I am inhaling before I go to sleep. I am using the Palo Santo on my chest. I'm using, you talked about it, the one on my feet, which I should know,
Spikenard.
Spikenard on my feet. I'm doing all of that, and sometimes it's working okay. Sometimes I need 2 or 3 doses in the middle of the night, and sometimes I'm still up. So any
And so like when that's happening, are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling, did you have like a rough day? Is your breathing off? Like anything that you notice?
um I'm in the middle of huge changes. I don't feel consciously nervous or upset or anything. I'm really excited. But this is going on before I was consciously aware of what I'm about to start doing, which is kind of typical for me anyway. But so and you talked about something for big change. Oh, holy basil. I'm also using holy basil internally.
And so you're falling asleep, you're just not staying asleep.
Most of the time, there's not one pattern. So most of the time I'm falling asleep. Most of the time I'm waking up at 2 or 3. Most, probably 50% of the time, 75% of the time. I'm not sure. When I use another 2 doses of the sleep support, I'm able to go back to sleep. Sometimes I'm not able to. Sometimes I wake up a third time. I get 4 and I can't get back to sleep. It's like different things on different nights. Most of the time I'm falling asleep, most of the time.
And you did that sleep class.
Yes,
Have you done the thing where you will go back and forth between the mugwort and the art of
yes.
eating?
Yeah, I'm doing that before I start everything else. Usually I put the spikenard on my feet first, and then I do the inhalations, and then I take the tincture. And I can tell you what I'm inhaling. I'm doing, several, but and then I'm kind of sleepy during the day, so I'm using like the time to wake me up, time liminal.
Do you happen to have cystis?
I don't. Well, I have an empty bottle I could probably inhale, but I
Yeah,
may,
let's have you just do that. Like find that empty bottle.
I
And
may,
it's
I,
still got some scent in it.
I may have tossed it because it was so old. I think I tossed
Oh,
it. I can order it. I'm about to put another order.
yeah. Just get a little tiny bottle. Like
Okay.
get like the little 2 ml roller ball or something.
Okay.
And let's have you
Is that for shock?
no, it looks like you're having a hard time processing something, you know. I don't know that you need to process it consciously, but when you're going into sleep, there's a thing that like when you get too deep, like it touches it and then you have a hard time going back to deep sleep again.
Oh, okay.
And so it's probably something from when you're young or something, you know. So let's have you use cystis, do the 4 quadrants,
Okay.
and then I'm going to send over that pattern. We're going to send a pattern or post a pattern here for you.
Okay. And then when should I do that, last or in the beginning or in the
Doesn't
middle?
matter. Like if you want to do it before or after, doesn't matter.
Okay.
But just do it like before you go to bed.
Hey, dear.
What was the message over the weekend? It was angels and
So
I think it was in angels.
I was wondering about the lady slipper and valerian, if that wouldn't just help me go deeper.
That might resolve it for you. Like that's very possible. But so you're going to do this pattern with cystis.
Okay.
And I do have Letty here if you just want to tell her which one to post.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me which phase.
And so this pattern is for one, it stimulates transmutation. It helps to establish order, but part of what it does is it balances out the 2 sides of the brain, and it should help stimulate the processing. And honestly, the processing is probably going to happen while you're asleep. You might not even know what it's about. Sometimes you know how with intellect, we think of like, oh, it was this incident, or was that incident, or was that person. Sometimes it's just this like globule of like a pattern that just, it's not one thing that you can point out, but it was just a bunch of bleh. And sometimes we get a little stuck on that. Like I've had that happen a few times where I just, couldn't tell you what it was about, but something was going on. And this is the way that I pushed through that. And so we have that pattern and just go through and work that pattern a couple of times, and that should help quite substantially.
Okay, great. And then
Yeah.
when you say both sides of the brain, I think of lemongrass. Would lemongrass help?
The cystis will be much better.
Okay.
Yeah, much better.
Okay. And then what I've noticed is my hiatal hernia is acting up when I'm taking the sleep support. I'm having a little difficulty with that valve staying shut. Is there anything you recommend about that?
So your hiatal hernia only acts up from time to time, or?
I haven't, probably 2-3 years ago, I was having an issue, and then it resolved with physical manipulation.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd probably do physical manipulation too. Like take the tip of your thumb and go right below that little, there's where the ribs come together. There's still a little bony process that comes off of it called the xiphoid process.
Yep.
It's a little thin, so go right below that and stick your thumb in and like kind of let it sink in, and then just pull it down like that. Like go in, let it sit for a minute, and then that usually resolves.
Okay.
I mean, you're resolving it until it flares up again. You know what I mean? It's not like it's completely resolving it, but that manipulation, it works way better than any oil or herb or whatever you can do. It's just
Okay.
a quick manipulation thing. Yeah.
Great, got that. And then I was going to ask you, there's two more, and I don't know if we have time for all this, but I'm going to ask, and then you can let me know. So when does one use hyssop with other people? Like if I'm dealing with other people versus rue versus hyssop or versus etheric quartz? Like when do you use what when you're
Okay,
dealing?
that's a good question. So we'll visit each one, and if you're not sure, you use them all. Right? So hyssop is very good for reducing the tendency to absorb negativity either from a person or an environment. So like say you're going into an office that like everybody's super stressed out. They're not upset at you, they're not stressed out at you, but you go in there and you're just like, God, my skin itches and I feel heavy and I like, whatever, that's absorbing negativity. Or if you just, how like sometimes when you're dealing with a negative person, you almost start like kind of wincing a little bit before you even interact with them. That's a little bit like, it's probably a bit of again, it might not even be directed at you, but there's stress levels there, whatever. So hyssop is about absorbing the negative or reducing the tendency to absorb negativity, but it also reduces the bounce back between your guys' energy body. So like for example, you maybe you're feeling fine, the other person's agitated, they make some weird statement, and it's a little bit of a poke, and then you bounce back and it starts to escalate. Hyssop calms all that down. Like, so if you have somebody that you're having to deal with that has that tendency or has that tendency to induce that in you, hyssop is good for that. Like it will just calm that down. And so there's that component. Rue is about releasing cords. So, negative connections between you and individuals. Like, so if say you go into that same office and you inhale rue, but none of it's really directed at you, it's probably not going to have a big impact. But if somebody was like, Dave, you didn't do this, or we need you to do this, or please fix my computer for I have a deadline, they're super freaked out. That's brew time. You know what I mean? Like you want to disconnect. It's like they have an IV that goes into your solar plexus, and it doesn't even have to be processed with words or whatever. It's just you feel it in the gut. And so a lot of times in work setting, those two will do quite a bit for you. The etheric chords is more about cleaning chords. So this would be more about like established relationships that, might be good, but they're stressed from other situations are contaminating the chords between you and a person. And so again, not really directed at you, or even if it is, like, say there's a long-standing issue with you and a person, not super active now, but every time you see each other, you're like, oh, here we go again. Like, you got to deal with whatever. I'd clean those chords. Now, on the flip side, cleaning chords also increases the potential that you have of connecting with people. So, like, if you're going into like an interview or something, cleaning the chords between you and the person that is doing the interview, you're going to have a much stronger connection with that person. Or between you and a partner, or you and a friend, or whatever that is. You kind of clean up the things that have happened in the past, and it makes it about the present and now, and increases the potential for connection then. So the example, well, I'll just use us. Like, sometimes Samantha will have a little bit of a headache, and I'll go, okay, and I'll work on her for a few minutes. I go, how are you feeling? She'll go, the same. And then I clean myself off and I go, how do you feel? And she goes, much better. Yeah. We're not having a bad day with each other, but sometimes, I'm dealing with a bunch of people, and she's in the office. And so all those connections that are hitting my energy body, I feel fine with it, but it impacts her. And so, sometimes what you're dealing with is like what that person was doing or has been doing for the last day, week, month, whatever, might have anything to do with you, but you feel their stress, or you feel their emotion, or you feel like, I have this cousin who had, he had something bad happen in his family. This was like 10 years ago. I mean, it's literally that long ago, 10 years ago. And I'm fine. And as soon as he walks in the room and him and I see each other, we both start crying. Like, we just, like, not just like, oh, a tear trickles. We both, because we're not even thinking of that bad event, but we just, like, we grew up with each other and everything. And like, I feel his pain. I start crying. He sees that I feel his pain. He starts crying. And it's been 10 years and that still is happening. It doesn't happen as bad as it used to. But like, if I think about that situation, it doesn't have that impact. But when I feel his emotion, it's just heartbreaking to me. And so, that is cleaning those cords. Like, if I would think about it and clean those cords, it probably wouldn't happen. But usually when I see him, it's like I'm not really thinking about it, and we don't see each other that often. But since that event, basically he lost one of his children, and since that event, every time we see each other, we just look at each other and start crying. If I think about it after, before or after, it doesn't make me cry. But when I see him, it's. When I see his wife, it doesn't bother me. Like, everybody else, it does. But for him, for some reason, but we grew up with each other. He's only a few years older than me. And so, like, Like I'm feeling his pain, but as soon as it hits my body, it just feels like mine. And so that is a cord issue, you know. Yeah. I had this thing, you know, this is many years ago, but whenever I get around this one person, it was a person in a work situation. Whenever I would get around this one person, all of a sudden I'd start noticing that I'd start getting really fussy and I'd start getting angry or whatever. And I was like, what is the issue? Like I didn't feel fussy or angry with that person, but I get around this person, and every time I'm around him, like I would start getting a little angry. And I don't know. One time I remember like talking to his wife, and she goes, "Yeah, he feels that way all the time." And I was like, ugh, why didn't I think of that? Clean the cords stopped happening, you know, it completely stopped happening. So what was happening is I'd get around him, I'd start feeling his anger, and then, you know, game on,
Yeah.
you know. So if you have scenarios like that, like even if you're not sure, like one of the things we have little bottles of etheric cords peppered throughout the whole house. So like almost like wherever you sit, there's like a little station, and it's got like there's almost every little spot where you could sit, there's a bottle of etheric cords. And so just, you know, you just start spelling them, and you know. So I would experiment with it a little bit and just see like how it feels with like focusing on different people at work. Because like if you think about like how we're talking about it, say you're doing a project for somebody and you're wanting to have really good, clear communication, right? Clean the cords between you and that person.
Mm-hmm.
And then communication will be improved, because not all communication is verbal. You know, some of it's body language, eye contact, but a lot of it is energy going back and forth. So if you clean that up, it's almost like you'll get a sense, you know, just like I feel my cousin's pain. If I was doing IT for him and he was frustrated with something, I was like, I can feel his frustration with fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Like it's like almost like a guidance
Yeah.
to dealing with the problem. So I would say out of all of them, etheric cords is probably what you'll use the most.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and if like when you're doing it, like think of like if you just do it in general, it just cleans things up in general. But like say you go, okay, I gotta go in and I gotta problem solve this person's issue tomorrow morning. You sit and think of that person and then inhale. And
That's
then
what I've been doing. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I've been
And
doing.
it will deepen the connection and the level of communication between you and the person. Then you go, okay, boy, when I go in that office, as soon as I'm there, within 5 minutes, I feel nauseous. Clean the cords between you and that person, because it's,
Okay.
you know, especially if it's not you and you feel nauseous. There's this other person, like we're going through my greatest hits of people in the past. You know, he was just a stress ball. And if I stood close enough to him, I'd get a headache. And then as soon as he'd walk away, my headache would go away.
Oh.
And so again, clean up the cords, and I could feel the headache kind of there, like teasing me a little bit, and then but it would never really manifest, where there would be times where I would get a pounding headache. You know, but that dude was like take the most stressful person you can think of and then times it like by 10. He was just a stress ball.
Oh.
Yeah. So any of those scenarios.
Okay.
And ones that I can't even think of right now. Like,
I've heard
like-
your words. I understand what you're thinking or what you're saying. I'm not clear about the hyssop, because when it sounds like etheric cords would be similar to hyssop in.
etheric cords is about the person. Hyssop can be about like what you would call radiatory energy. So it's not really directed at you. It's not, it could be in the environment. It could be a
Oh.
group of people. It could be like things that are just radiating out and you're feeling it. Like right now with everything going on crazy in the world, Hyssop's a crazy one to do just because you know, everything's in chaos for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it just helps you not to absorb some of that chaotic kind of energy for a little bit and
And
negativity.
Can hyssop be internal as well? Can you take
I
it?
wouldn't take it internal. It's got some thuyon in it that not it's better inhaled or topical.
Okay.
Not internal.
Okay. And topical, put it on the wrist for a while?
Yeah, a couple drops on the wrist. I usually put it on the wrist or on the chest.
Okay. Okay. I've got more, but I don't want to
Yeah. Well, we got to get rolling over to
Yeah.
us now.
I'll wait for the next time. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, great talking with you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. So we need to slide over to a star for the prayer petition blessing. And so join us if you can. It's a great way to spend 15 minutes and get a little blast. And if not, hopefully you can join us tomorrow night. We're doing both classes were free. And so we have a couple of study groups tomorrow night. One for memory and one for working with angels in the aura. And so join us if you can. And if not, hopefully I see you this weekend. So take care.